Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little health. We have a guest who is really not a guest. She's been on the podcast before. Her last appearance was her first appearance. She was on the podcast back in April of 2021. So it's been a minute. And when I had her on, we talked about COVID because we were in the height of the COVID pandemic. But we're over the pandemic, I think. And we're bringing her back once again to talk about health, medicine, and any and everything in between. She is one of my best friends in the Marvel universe. She's not my best friend because my wife stole her, and she's now Sharice's best friend. But ladies and gentlemen, for the second time, one of the best pediatricians in the world, my good friend, your good friend, Dr. Jimmell Felder, is back in the building. Jimmell, what up?
Hello. You're still my best friend, Kyle. Don't do that.
Yeah, you said that on the last episode, but we know better. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Now, was it 21 or was it well, I guess maybe it was after.
Yeah, it was 21. It was
Okay.
April 8th, 2021.
Okay.
You came on and you talked about COVID, and
I made some predictions that it was going to be around and that we was going to have to do a yearly vaccine, just like the flu vaccine. You remember that?
Yes, you did make those predictions. And while I didn't think it was crazy, it sounded plausible, you were on point. So we can start right there. In the medical field, how has things changed since the pandemic? And now, I guess are we at herd immunity now? We're in the post-pandemic?
Well, as you know, the virus keeps changing, right? So that's the reason why we have to keep getting new vaccines. So I think the newest vaccine just was approved by the FDA maybe a week or so ago. So they'll be asking people to go out and get your new and improved COVID vaccine, as well as getting your flu vaccine. And so why are you shaking your head?
Because I'm never taking that flu vaccine. And I don't want to start the podcast off on some foolishness, but I took the flu vaccine many, many years ago, and I got the flu. And I've never been that sick ever in my life. Even I got COVID, and COVID felt like a very small cold compared to whatever was in that flu vaccine. It did me bad. I was like, I'm never doing this again.
So let's just recap, because that's
Okay.
a common myth that some people will say, and I think we may have touched on this last time. But it takes a minute for the antibodies to build up. So it's a 2-week period. So it takes about 2 weeks. So if you get the flu vaccine and you're exposed within that 2-week period, you can get the flu because you're not fully protected. So a lot of people say that the vaccine gave them the flu. That is not true. But if you get it in a window and you're around a bunch of flu or a bunch of whatever, for that matter, it'd be around monkeypox. I don't know. And I don't want to talk about that because I haven't looked that up too much. But yes, you can still succumb to the disease state while you're waiting for your antibodies to build up. So but you asked me a question about how is medicine?
Yes, how has medicine changed? Yes.
Well, to be honest, I think there was a mass exodus from medicine, like clinical medicine, to other jobs, from nurses, physicians. We all, they called it the Great Resignation, and that happened in all kind of fields,
Right.
but it happened in medicine as well. And I had my Great Resignation date on June 9th of 2023. So I no longer am a practicing pediatrician.
But you're still top 5 pediatricians in the world, though.
Well, thank you for that, Kyle. I think you're a little biased, but
Just a
I
little.
have since moved on, and I'm a medical director for an insurance company. And I also launched my own weight management practice in September of last year. So
So
I'm also a health equity consultant for my hospital. So I'm doing a couple things. So I left one job for three. So I'm now Jamaican. But I'm
not
but I
Jamaican.
but I'm fulfilled in what I'm doing. So that's the good thing.
So let's go back to that, because again, you were, at the last time we spoke, you were, practicing medicine as far as being a pediatrician, and you mentioned the exodus. Was it because of COVID, or was it a myriad of things where you just wanted to get out of the practice altogether?
Oh, for me, it was a
Hmm.
myriad of things.
Okay.
So let's see, how shall we say it? So 2020 was the pandemic, and it was pretty rough, especially in those early states. Um, and then there was the misinformation and disinformation. And so what that does is just kind of whittle away the trust that you have built with families when people start questioning vaccines, which is everybody's right to question whatever
Right.
you put in your body, right? But then you start questioning every vaccine. And you've had older children that you vaccinated without problems, but then you don't want to vaccinate the babies, and on and such. So it became those kind of things. And then 22, I had started business school because I wanted to kind of pivot and see what the administrative side of medicine would bring me, and just to learn about the business of medicine, since medicine seemed to be more corporatization of medicine. So I wanted to see, learn that part. So in 22, I embarked on getting a master's in business administration, which I successfully completed in December of that year.
December
And
9th.
also
You did it on December 9th.
December 9th, your birthday, yes.
Yeah. So you missed
Um,
my party. You missed my 50th, but
and
you're excused.
and also that same year I lost my brother and mother 44 days apart. So for me, after that happened, and after some things happened with that, just I just didn't feel in the second half of my career that I wanted to be in a clinic somewhere seeing patients every day, all day. I think I just wanted something different to do.
Okay. Okay. You know what's interesting? I went back and listened to that podcast that we did, and both of us, well, I'm going to go back and then come forward. But both of us, we talked about our apprehension in taking the vaccine, because I think at the time I was about to get my second shot. I think you had already had your second shot. I was like within a week of taking my second shot, and didn't have any effects of it, of the COVID vaccine. But I chuckled at our exchange, because you're a medical doctor, and you were apprehensive about taking the vaccine as well. And you talked about a lot of resistance that you experienced as far as patients not wanting to take it. What has been, I know you said you've gotten out of the field, but what has been if you could say, probably the biggest fallout from the whole vaccine misinformation, them running Dr. Fauci up out of there? What has been the biggest thing that you think happened with all of that?
Well, I think I alluded to it earlier. Like, people, the mistrust that you have in medicine also translates to mistrust of doctors and the things that they're telling you. And so there's always more questioning, which I'm saying is fine to do. But, like some people like to go on WebMD. I won't say anybody specifically, but the
I
other
love
person talking
WebMD.
on this podcast, and I mean, and not to be honest, that's a better site than most. But, with the TikTok age and, those things there, I think it's eroded the trust in physicians and the things that we tell you. And so it's very concerning because, we spend half our lives to get this experience, this education to serve patients. We're not, trying to do harm to anyone with the medical advice that we're giving you. And so I think it was more so of eroding that trust that that was kind of there. And I think we lost that. And so now people are really, um, just kind of take what doctors say, sometimes with a grain of salt. I mean, and also I think I call it Burger King medicine. I saw more Burger King medicine where, you know, people want to have it their way. They want to come in and they want to tell you what to prescribe, what test to run, even if it's unnecessary. And so I think, when you spend a lot of time and effort and time of your life, half of your life doing this, and then people come in and tell you what you're going to do with your license. That's a little bit where I have to draw the line. So I was just like, okay, this part is becoming less and less satisfying for me. So I need to pivot and do something else. And that's why I got another degree, so I could pivot.
Do you miss anything about practicing medicine on a daily basis?
So my weight management clinic is half a day a week, which they allow us to do at my medical directorship job. So I'm not out of clinical practice per se. I just
Mhm.
pivoted and I love it. I
Okay.
love, love, love my current practice. It's mine. I own it. And I just love that specialty. I mean, I think I've been called to that, since I was a pediatrician. I mean, early in my career, I talked out against pediatric obesity and educated people. And so that's been my passion for a very long time. And so to be able to do that now as my, you know, clinical practice, I absolutely love it. Now, as far as pediatric practice, I do
Mhm.
miss the babies. Oh my goodness, I miss those babies. The parents, you
Not so
know,
much.
but the babies, I miss them. And when I see them out in Walmart or the grocery store, wherever, they come running. Some of them be like, "Oh, she got a shot in her pocket. Let me get away from her." But it's like that's the shot lady.
Damn, that's funny. So and that's interesting because I know, and I'll go back to something you said earlier. Um, making that pivot career wise, and then going back and getting that degree, and you went through a lot that year, specifically losing your brother and your mother, like you said, within a 44-day span. Um, how did you push through all that? Because that was, I watched from afar, but we're very close, obviously, so we talk. How did you push through that to not just get the degree, but the purpose behind that? How did you push through that to accomplish the goal?
Well, I made my brother a promise. He's very proud of his doctor sister. And, you know, I hope I don't start crying, but um the first we had residency periods where you go in person
Mhm.
to University of Tennessee, which is where I got my MBA from. And it was a physician executive MBA program, so it was all physicians. And so I remember the first RP1 residency period one, and I was driving up through the mountains, and I wasn't a good driver through the mountains. This was only my second time driving through the mountains, and then I was doing it by myself. The first time I was with my husband, but I was doing it by myself, and it was starting to snow.
Mm.
And I was talking to him on the phone, and he said, "Well, you call me when you get there because I don't want anything to happen to you." And that was the first period. And so I get there, and soon as I get there, well, it was threatening to snow, and
Okay.
I made it all the way to Tennessee, through the mountains. And soon as I like pulled up to the hotel, it started snowing. So I made it there safely, and so I got in my hotel and I videoed some snow for him that it was starting to snow, and I sent it to him, called him, told him I made it safe. So he was very proud that I was again setting out to do something different. He's always pushed me to, you know, achieve my goals, and so He was very proud. And so, it took a long time for him to pass away, because he just basically withdrew care from dialysis. And so it was a kind of drawn out period. And so he made me promise that I would finish.
Oh, great.
He knew that was the only way that he was going to get me to do it. And and so when I graduated, I decorated my graduation cap for Nard, which is what we called. That was like his nickname, Nard, Nard. And so that was on my graduation cap. And I had so many people standing behind me in my MBA class crying at our
Really?
graduation ceremony because all they could see was for Nard, as I'm standing in front of them. And I'm crying too. So it was very emotional for me and my class. But we go through things, it makes us stronger. And I did it basically to fulfill my promise to him.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You know what's interesting? You and I had a conversation many years ago, and I distinctly remember the conversation because I was dropping Dion off at college, my oldest son, your godson. And I want to say this was his freshman year, but you had mentioned that you wanted to do something with obesity. So you had talked about it and I think Dion went to college in 2017. So you had talked about it back then. Mm-hmm. So what does it mean to you now to push this forward, having prophesied something for yourself or set a goal for yourself to be dealing with obesity?
Well, I will just tell you the truth. The only reason I'm doing weight management, obesity management is because of my brother.
Okay.
At his highest weight, he was 465 pounds.
Wow.
And as a physician and as his sister, more than that, I wasn't able to help him. It just made me so frustrated that I wasn't able to help him and sit on the sidelines and watch him, have kidney failure and have heart attacks and, ultimately strokes, which is what his last thing was, that ultimately he was like, enough is enough. And I would like to, please let me go home. And that was a beautiful time for people to die with dignity. That's another talk for another day. Yeah. But, the reason why I'm doing this work is because in medical school, they didn't teach us how to do it. They said calories in equals calories out, move more, eat less. That's the magic golden formula. And we know that just doesn't work. And so because of that, I got real interested in obesity and I went and took a course in Harvard. And after the first pathophysiology lecture that morning where they were talking about the biochemistry, the hormones that make up this study of obesity that nobody ever taught us in medical school, not in my medical school, and not in a lot of medical schools across the country. I cried. I busted out crying. I know the lady beside me was like, what is wrong with this lady? And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just like any other chronic disorder that we've been mismanaging, telling people to eat less and move more. I mean, I was so full because I was like, I finally got the answers that I need to make a difference in this space. And it's shameful. I think we have let down certainly patients that suffer from obesity, but definitely the medical professionals because we weren't trained. And so now that all the medicines are coming out, everybody jumping in wanting to give out a GLP-1, but they didn't go get their class.
Okay, so what's a GLP-1? Certified. Okay, I got to raise my hand. What's a GLP-1? Because you start talking to these.
GLP-1 is the Ozempics, the Wegovys, the Zepbound, the Mounjaro. Okay. Everybody wants to prescribe it, but I will say there's about 8,000 of us in the country that are board certified in obesity medicine. Not saying that anybody, other physician cannot prescribe the medicine. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there is a specialty, and I'm double board certified as a pediatrician and an obesity medicine specialist. So there's that. And then, so I will have to say that this part of my career is personal to me because both my mom and my brother suffered from obesity, and they both ultimately passed away from complications of obesity.
Mm.
And so if I can help any family from going through the losses that I had to go through, because of the failing of the medical profession to treat persons with the chronic complex disease of obesity. And that's what it is. I mean, we wouldn't treat cancer any different, hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes. We treat these things. But we somehow think that obesity is someone's fault. And
Right.
I'm here to say it is not. It's so much more complicated than that. And so with the tools that I learned at Harvard and other courses that I've taken, and then sit for an exam and pass and be board certified in that field, it's one of the proudest things that makes me still excited about medicine.
That's great. That is great. That is great. That is a great story to hear as well. I tell you what, we got time to take a quick commercial break. So after the break, we'll come back on the other side and we'll get more with Dr. Jimmell Felder. We'll be back in just a second. And just like that, we are back. Once again, it's your boy 12 Kyle. This is the 12 Kyle podcast, and we are kicking it and getting a little knowledge from Dr. Jimmell Felder. She's back in the building. Again, top 5 pediatrician in the world, even though she's no longer practicing medicine.
I am still practicing medicine.
I'm sorry. Well, you're not working with the babies no more. That's my point.
Yeah, weight management.
So I want to go back to something you said earlier as far as like, just talking about, and something that you mentioned on the previous episode that we did where you talked about as far as like the distrust with people as far as, doctors and medicine is concerned. And obviously COVID has heightened everything up. But one thing you mentioned on that episode was us, people of color. Black folks. For those of you who aren't watching on YouTube, both Dr. Jimmell and I are Black, in case you hadn't figured it out by now. But what do you see? What have you seen anything as far as like with obesity and us and just the struggles that we have in your practices? What have you seen so far in the time that you've been working with this in this new endeavor?
Well, what I will say is when people come to me, they don't know how I'm going to be. They're nervous. They've been shamed. They've been made to feel guilty. Nobody has taken the time with them to, go through some things that I go through. So nervous. They're nervous. And so what I say is that we, people with obesity, they have weight stigma that happens through healthcare professionals. And I witnessed it firsthand with my brother. He, is not treated nicely sometimes because of his excess weight. And I don't think that's just in a silo. I think that happens quite frequently. And patients are made to feel that it's their fault, that they're lazy. Like if they just back away from the table, this would magically go away. We're not sprinkling out, potions on people. I was like, there are reasons why. There's genetics, there's your environment, there's the food that you eat, there is maybe a food desert in your neighborhood. Maybe you don't have access to fresh foods. Maybe they're too expensive.
Yes.
So, I mean, there are a lot of things that play into this complex disease. And I just feel like it's time to, treat every patient with compassion, no matter, what disease process it is. But certainly around obesity, we could do a lot better job. And so I will say that for us, but I don't think this is race at all. I think some people they want the quick fix. So I have a lot of people coming to me and like, I need the shot. I'm sorry, baby, your insurance ain't gonna pay for the shot. You got $1,000? Okay, well, we're gonna do some other things, okay? And so, so I have a lot of tools in my toolkit. You don't have to start out with the GLP-1s, which are the shots that everybody are taking. And I will say this disclaimer while we're talking about the shots. There are some compound pharmacies that may be good, may not be good, but I just caution people to make sure that you know what you're putting in your body. And I say that for everything.
Yes. Yes.
Because some of these fake GLP-1s out there are harming folks. They're thinking it's one thing, it's not. People are overdosing on this because they're trying to do it not the way they were prescribed to do it, or just don't understand how to draw medicine up. And so they overdose, which causes intractable vomiting for weeks sometimes. And you have to be hospitalized and get some fluids. So, I mean, it's a medicine. So it's not without, pros and cons with everything that you put in your body. So I just tell people to just do your research. I know everybody wants to have that thinness, especially after you get after a certain age. I'm in the 50 club now, and it gets difficult. But you also still have to watch your nutrition. You still have to exercise. You still have to do your mind work. And that's the biggest piece that I tell people. You have to change your mindset about food. And if you don't do that, you can take pills, you can take shots, you can go get bariatric surgery. But if you don't change the mindset that you have with food and your relationship with food, you will gain the weight back every single time.
So what do you say to those who, they love, I don't know, lemon pepper wings, and they just can't get away from it? It just be calling them, like Pookie on New Jack City. What do you say
Everybody
to those
has
people?
that thing. Mine is golden Oreos. So
What?
every golden Oreos, that's my
Golden.
thing.
Wow, I never knew that golden Oreos existed until
Yeah,
just now.
so the other ones, they're yellow, and then they got the
Yeah.
cream in the middle, the golden Oreos. So those are my favorite. But so everybody has their thing. Everybody has you know, their favorite thing.
Mhm.
And I tell people you can have your favorite thing. I don't believe in keeping away from certain things. You can have everything in moderation. But I also talk to people. We talk about food triggers. We talk about stress. A lot of people emotionally eat, so we talk about that. So I give people tools. We sit there and analyze why we got to where we got. We talk about the history over the course of a life. So when was the first time that you had excess weight on your body? If it was elementary school and you're now coming to me at 40, we got a lot of mind work to do, right? Which I don't do because I'm not a counselor. So they have to go see the counselor, right? But I give them tools, until they can get to the counselor. So I just really want people to know that there are physicians out here who care, especially about our community, because we are the ones dying the most because of the excess weight. We're also the least likely to get the medicines, the referrals to the places that we need to be. I tell people it's Band-Aid medicine, where they keep you coming back for your diabetes and hypertension, but they're not helping you fix the root cause of that. And sometimes it's your excess weight. Because we know if people get on these medicines, the GLP-1s, the shots, that a lot of them get off their diabetes medicines. A lot of them get off their high blood pressure medicines because it is attributable to their excess weight. So these medicines are great. We in obesity medicines world, we super excited about them because they rival the same weight loss as bariatric surgery in a shot. And so that is like revolutionary. So we're so excited about that. And there are more medicines being developed. So they're the dailies. First they were dailies, and now they're weekly injectables. First there was one hormone that it targeted. Now the second ones are two, and then there's one coming that's gonna target three. So I mean we're getting it.
Right.
We're getting it. So I'm just super excited that I get to be in the fight with my patients to help them with their excess weight.
Yeah, you mentioned the GLP-1.
Yeah, GLP.
Okay.
Oh, look at you.
See, I'm taking notes over here. I'm taking notes. So so is it frustrating at all to because I know that there's a push. I mean, like, you can be watching TV and you hear the Ozempic commercial. And that's the only reason why I'm familiar with Ozempic, is because I watch the nightly news, and it comes on every single night during a commercial break. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
It's for real.
Yeah.
It does. And so how is it frustrating because, like, are there some people who may want kind of that quick fix of, hey, I'll take this shot. I'm going to drop 35 pounds after taking this shot. And that's not
Oh, well,
realistic.
I always tell people this isn't a magic pill.
Mm.
And it's not a magic shot either.
Okay.
So, up to. So if you look at the thing and then you read the little fine print,
Right.
up to. But it also says each individual, is up to the individual. So they can't guarantee that for every individual. So I have people coming to me and it's like, oh, I got a wedding at the end of the year and I want to lose 30 pounds by December. And I was like,
Right.
that may not be possible. You just have to be realistic. We could get you there. But sometimes, the insurance companies are not paying for these medicines, a lot of them. And so then people go to the compound pharmacies and then la on down the line. And let me just be clear. The reason why the compound pharmacies are able to do this, make this supposed medicine, and we're not sure if it's the same, right, is because there's a shortage. So anytime there's a shortage, a compound pharmacy can try to produce the same medicine as the shortage. And that's the only reason that we're in that predicament. Because the medicine took off like gangbusters. Everybody in Hollywood, they want to slim down for their roles. And they can afford it, right? They're the elite. So they get it, with no problems because they can afford it. They can pay $1,000 a month for, Ozempic or whatever. It's no skin off their back. For me, it's absolutely necessary that we try to make this more widely available to people who are more vulnerable and have more health problems. And that's usually your Medicaid, your Medicare population, which at this point, and it's state by state, but like in my state of South Carolina, they're not covering these medicines on Medicaid or Medicare. So they covered it briefly. I think that's about the end in October. There was a new indication for Wegovy that came out for major adverse cardiovascular events or hearts. We call it MACE. So if you had a previous stroke or previous heart attack, these medicines were indicated to be tried to help prevent that from occurring again. And so I did get one of my Medicaid patients on it after she had a stroke, but we need to be getting it on in the patients before they have strokes. That would be
right. That'd
ideal,
be helpful.
way more than ideal. To have to wait till after someone gets a stroke to get the medicine approved is ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. But we have to jump through the hoops that we have. And so I try to help patients, and she had lost weight on a oral medication called metformin prior to even being on that before her stroke. So she had lost 30 pounds prior to her stroke. So it was just that she still had excess weight and had already done harm to her body. But we want to prevent that. And it's many people, especially me in marginalized, underserved populations. Really it's my heart. And so, so hopefully we could start getting that work done.
Now you mentioned compound pharmacies. Is that like the CVS's and?
No. They're usually like other pharmacies, like your mom and pop. Some of those are compound pharmacies. They're specific. And I don't want to be on here like down in compound pharmacies.
I know what you mean.
But because there are some legitimate safe ones. But overall, the Obesity Medicine Association does not recommend the use of compounded semaglutide, which is Wegovy and Ozempic.
Okay, now you can't use big words on me now.
Semaglutide is just the generic name, the brand name. So Ozempic and
I'm messing with you.
Wegovy.
So what about? Okay, so the demographic for the people that listen to this podcast is usually somewhere between 30 and 55, 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our peers in a lot of ways. What do you tell the person who is, putting on that shirt or putting on that dress and they're like, okay, they got their eye on a date in November because it's their college homecoming and they want to look fly and they know that they got to drop 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell them as far as like, you know, trying to get weight down? What is there any advice that you would give as far as, you know, to try to make that happen, basically losing 10 pounds in 2 months?
So safe weight loss is 2 pounds a week. Has always been what it is. And so, and the body adjusts better to that. Some people lose more weight than that on these medicines. But I tell my people, let's go slow and just, you know, and so I will say that let's just talk about female versus male. So, because there's a hormonal component to weight loss in women, that after you get to perimenopause and menopause states, that is very difficult to lose weight. You can do whatever you try, but your hormones work against you. And so some people get on hormone replacement in order to keep their kind of weight in check and not have the other side effects such as hot flashes and all the other things that come with menopause. But so, and the other thing is, you know, some of these medicines, right? Not everybody wants to get on medicines, and I'm not a medicine, you know, that's just one tool in the toolbox, is what I tell people. I mean, basically, what we do is we come up with a comprehensive plan. So we talk about sleep, we talk about stressors, we talk about nutrition, we do it all. How much exercise are you doing? So I kind of figure out what you do as a person, you know, and then we figure out what are some goals that you can have. So if you're telling me that you drink 20 Mountain Dews every day because you stay up till 4 o'clock, then obviously the first goal is
Stop
let's
drinking
cut
Mountain
back
Dew.
on the Mountain Dews and let's get more sleep. So a lot of it is not pushing medicines. A lot of it is saying, what is it that you can do to change some of the habits that you've accumulated over your course of living that are not healthy. And so my clinic is called New Creation Wellness. And so it's not just about your weight. It's really about wellness, you know, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, the whole nine. And so we talk about all of that, you know, and all of the different ways that you can be healthier. And so it's not just it's not really a weight loss. I don't like to call it that. I mean, I call it weight management because I'm helping you manage your weight, but I'm also talking to you about all your other things that you're doing in your life that may be causing you to struggle with your weight.
Okay. So what about in the same scenario? What about that person that wants to lose that 10 pounds within 2 months and they're not taking any medicines? They want to, you know, just go to the gym and, you know, kind of starve themselves so they can get into that dress or get into that shirt for homecoming.
I mean, so intermittent fasting, people do that, and that's very successful. I tell people it's not really sustainable for the long haul. So you could do that, you know. I've done a lot of these things over the course of my life. Every person who struggled with their weight that goes up and down, you've done a lot of things. And so a lot of people know what works for them. But at some point, if you are a woman, and sometimes as a man, you get to this point where the things that you've done in the past, they don't seem to work. And so starving yourself, of course, is not something that I recommend. But I do recommend a high protein diet if you're trying to lose weight, you know, cut down on your sugars, cut down on your soft drinks. So we do, I mean, there are some things you can do. I just, you know, and to move and to build muscle, right? So if you're gonna go and do weight training, which is very important for women over 50 for them to do, that changes their body more than cardio.
Really?
Cardio
Wow.
is very important. I'm not saying that it's not important, but you get more of a change in your body if you build more muscle. And I'm not saying like be a, you know, weightlifter muscle. I'm just saying that if you have more muscle, then you can tone easier and your weight loss goals are more sustainable and it seems easier than if you're just doing cardio alone. So that is one trick that I will say for perimenopausal, menopausal women. Resistance training is going to change your body more than cardio. But do your cardio because you need a healthy heart. So
That's a good point. That's a good point. I think you've touched on a lot of different things, and it's amazing to hear, because like I think especially as we get older, our bodies change, and we see ourselves, and everybody knows that you have your before and after, because like we looked a certain way in our 20s, and we're going to look a certain way in our 50s, and so like you always want to compare yourself to the past, especially women more so. I mean, maybe probably more so than men, because they're constantly being compared to their past. Have you come across in the wellness part? Have you gotten like a lot of resistance from any of your patients, or have they pretty much just kind of bought in?
Oh, my patients come to me skeptics. They come to me as skeptics. They was like, "Oh, I done been doing this my whole life, lady. What you offering, I ain't buying." But but when they start losing their weight, they're like, "Oh my gosh!" I had one patient in particular. She thought I was selling her. She did not buy it. She was like, "This is not gonna work. I don't believe you. I've been doing this. I've been struggling with this my whole 47 years of living. This is not gonna work." And it worked. And so it's not about the medicines per se. It's about helping her change her mindset. So if you're going around calling yourself the F word, which I will not say,
Okay.
because I don't allow my patients to
Fudge.
say it, and I'm talking about, no, that's not.
I know, I'm messing with you.
Yeah. If we're talking about weight, you know what the F word is I'm
Right.
talking about. Yeah, I don't allow them. So if you're going around in your household and you're calling yourself that day in and day out, that was one of the things she said to me in our first intake. She kept saying that over and over. I was like, okay, the first thing we're going to do is take that out of your vocabulary. I don't let people use that word. I said, you can't use that word around me. And she was like taken aback. And I was just like, no. We have to shift our mindset. So if you're going to call yourself that, that has been a negative, voice in your head saying that word over and over and over again. I said, nothing's going to change if you're going to continue to say that.
Yeah.
She stopped saying it. And that lady lost 30 pounds.
Wow.
And so it wasn't just that. We did some other things. We talked about her diet, some of the same things that I'm saying, to you. But it was mainly looking at herself differently, that you can be different. I don't care if you've been like this your whole life, and at 47 you're meeting me and you want to make a change. If you're serious about it, I'll help you. But you also have to change your mindset. You can't keep saying the same things to yourself and looking at yourself in the mirror saying the same things that you said to yourself since you were 10 years old. It won't work. And so
That is
nobody ever
great.
talked to her about shifting her mindset away from thinking negative thoughts. So she would replay the negative tapes in her mind all the time. No, you're not going to be successful. You keep looking at yourself in the mirror saying the same thing that you said all your life. You've got to say other things about yourself. I say, you don't have anything nice to say about yourself. When you look in the mirror, don't say anything. Don't use the F word, and just, fake it till you make it. I am doing the best I can. I'm happy about my hair today. Give yourself something positive. You don't necessarily have to look in the mirror and lie to yourself if you don't feel like you look beautiful, because that also is self-love, and that's a process. So, we just started small. And I told that one thing, I think, changed her life. Stop saying the F word.
Wow.
FAT, people, because I'm not talking about the other word.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about. We know you ain't talking about the other F word. That's funny. But that's good. But and like you said, it starts with a mindset. I mean, like you are what you think you are. Some people look in the mirror and say, "Hey, I'm gonna be great today." Some people say, "I'm not gonna be great," or "I'm a bum." And you slowly become what it is that you think that you are. One more question before I get you out of here. Let's pivot a little bit from medicine and the medical field. You are a huge sports fan. You attended and are a proud alum of Duke University. What do you think y'all gonna do this year as far as basketball is concerned?
Well, I don't know. We got some good recruits, right?
Yeah.
I think I don't know what all I should say, but I just wasn't real happy with Coach Shire. I think a lot of Dukies weren't real happy with him. He just like a
Give him
little like
time. Give him
he's
time.
like the like friendly coach. Like sometimes you got to get in people's, something. You know what I mean? You got to
Mm-hmm.
get in their face. You got to motivate them. That's not his That's not his style. I think he's like the friendly coach, and he's just attaboy type thing. And we really want to win. Okay, so I mean, as long if he but you know Coach Davis at UNC, he needed some time to kind of get his legs, see legs,
Mm-hmm.
and they've, actually come out. And so, we're going to give him some more time. We're going to let him get see legs under him. Cause we used to winning, Coach K was with
That's
us
what
for,
that's
you
what I've
know,
heard.
yeah. So we used to win, and we got to get back there, and it's our 100th, year of Duke. And, we want to show out. We want to show up and show out. We're not trying to, you know, be low down in them polls now.
Wait a
That's
minute. So
not
it's
what
100 years of Duke University, 100 years of Duke basketball.
100 years of Duke University.
Wow. Okay.
It's our
Didn't know that.
centennial year.
Didn't know that. You going to
Mhm.
homecoming this year?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. I have it on my radar, but I've had a little health issues, so I have to figure out if that's something that I can do.
That's, and it's amazing. I still laugh at the fact that you went to Duke football games, but never made it to a Duke basketball game.
I'm not a camp out person. I'm not camping out for anything.
And just so you know, those of you listening, she was there like when Duke was dope. When Duke we had Grant Hill and Bobby Hurley and all these other guys, the championship teams, and she never made it to a basketball game. And we're also in a fantasy football league. Our families. I was blown away. I'm not gonna lie. I was blown away by the fact that I had no. See, here's the thing. We've known each other 40 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew you were competitive. I didn't know you was that competitive. I mean, like I said last night, when you text me at 11:30, and I know you go to bed dumb early, for you to text me at 11:30 on a Monday night, yeah, I'm just watching the game. I got to make sure I win tonight. And I'm like, Jimmell, you do know you can get the results in the morning. Like you got to go to work in the morning. What are you looking forward to as far as fantasy football?
So, we have this, my son, Kyle's godson, Lakel, started this fantasy league for us last year, just so we could have some family fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been great. So this year I'm looking forward to taking my team at least to the playoffs. I don't know. We'll see. I had the number one pick, so Christian McCaffrey may take me there. But we'll see. I really honestly though just like the fellowship and us just kind of being close over football. And so I'm not really a football person. My thing is college sports. So I hosted the March Madness thing. So I'm really doing this I'll do fantasy, but y'all gonna do March Madness as well. So, but I'm getting excited about fantasy because I'm gonna whip y'all's tail this year.
Wait a minute, who won the March Madness? Who won that?
My dad won March Madness.
Yeah, I was out of it real quick.
And
I came in second in the fantasy football last year.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
So let's recognize true talent. And so we had at the time of this recording, we had our final fantasy football draft last night. So season is upon us, and I'm looking forward to it too. And the cool thing is, this is the only league that I'm playing in, so I can devote all. In years past, I played in multiple leagues, and like you said, if Lakel had not said, "Hey, I want you to play," I was like, when he asked me, I was like, "Man, I ain't trying to play," because I was done playing fantasy football. But this was fun. So I was in church checking my rosters and all kind of stuff like that, not paying attention to the pastor, and so I'm looking forward to this year. But as we wrap things up, I want to thank you for coming back on. It's been a great journey as a friend watching you, because like I said, you did prophesize this back in 2017 of what you were going to do. So I'll give you the floor to kind of tell us if you have anything, what's next, because I know that this is your baby right now. What do you think is next for the next 5 years as far as you in this practice?
So I think that I want to So the job that I have kind of pays the bills. It's not really my passion. Um, but it's something that was necessary. And so it's a remote job. My child is a middle schooler. And so I can take him to school and pick him up and do that flexible thing, be able to track meet at 5 like the crazy mama, I feel like middle school is where I needed that kind of attention. Um, and I just felt like I wanted to give him that kind of attention. Middle school was tough for me. And
I
so I just
remember.
really, yeah. And so I really wanted to kind of be in a place where I could give him some me. And so I said I was going to devote 3 years while he was in middle school to this medical directorship, and then try to grow my business, try to work more in my practice of weight management. And so, that's what kind of mommies do. We try to juggle everything and and I'm not saying daddies don't do that either. I'm just
I was
saying,
about to say,
but
y'all are different.
all the ladies know what I'm saying, okay? And all the ladies know. So anyway, as I was saying, so I just really wanted to kind of give him that time. And then he'll be driving, and then I won't have to be the taxi, person. I'll just meet him up at the track meet. So, that's what I really wanted to do. And then also kind of, do some other things. So we didn't get to talk about my health equity advisory task force that I lead at my hospital.
Feel free to talk about it.
So basically, because underserved and marginalized communities are represented in most of the health disparities, I created a task force at my hospital, convened it, and I lead it. And we tackle certain initiatives. It's physicians only in the task force, and we have different specialties, and we come up with initiatives based on the data at our hospital. So our first initiatives were lung cancer screenings. We increased those. Our biggest initiative was our maternal infant health initiative, which we're going to launch next month.
Okay.
Took us a whole year a year and a half to kind of figure out what we wanted to do and get our stuff together. We got some grant funding. And so we have hired, we call them perinatal navigators, to have race concordant, meaning a Black community health worker, to work with a mom from time she's pregnant to 1 year postpartum to kind of help support her through her pregnancy. So we're super excited about that. And then looking ahead, we're going to try to do the same thing with end of life care. So we struggle sometimes in the minority populations with death and how to do that with dignity, and also making sure that everybody's wishes are understood and put out on paper. We don't do that very well in our communities, and so we want to have an end of life doula or navigator to kind of help families navigate those conversations that should have occurred before, but didn't. And so we're working on that. I'm super excited about that. That's one of my favorite upcoming initiatives. And then we're going to work about breast cancer and heart attack care. So, I have been, like I said, I gave up pediatrics, but I am doing the work that makes my heart still flutter.
Okay.
So fighting against disparities in marginalized and underserved communities, as well as helping people manage their weight in a more compassionate, integrative way. I can't ask for anything more as far as my medical career right now.
That's dope. That's dope. And you're a track mom.
And I'm a track mom, yes.
A fantasy football player and a track mom. Well, I gotta say again, thank you for coming on. Of course, we talk all the time. I don't talk to you as much because your BFF has taken. And for those of you listening and watching, thank you for watching on YouTube. I appreciate it. My wife Sharice has officially taken over. Like me and Dr. Jimmell were best friends, and she just kind of pushed me out the side. So we don't talk as much.
He's telling y'all stories.
They talk every day. Like
no,
we talk maybe. But over the last year, I learned a lot. I did, and I'm not going to get into it, but I did not know you were a fan of a certain rapper from Canada. So our discussions have been very broad these last few weeks. But in all seriousness, no, I am super excited for you. I know that the sky's the limit because you've talked about it, and all of the things that you've always talked about always seem to come to fruition, even when you don't see it. But yeah, I got to thank you again for coming on. And we will have you back on. It won't be 3 years. I didn't realize it had been 3 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to congratulate you, and I look forward to the text messages this football season. I know they're coming.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. And, you've been a friend of mine since I was 4 years old. And so I don't take that lightly. And yes, Sharice and I talk a little bit
Daily.
more, but we've had a lot of conversations here in the last 2024. So we've been doing better. And that's all you do. You only have this one life, and we're all supposed to do better. When we know better, we do better. And I feel like we've been doing better. So.
Yeah, we have been, because you've been doing better.
And on that note, people, it's a wrap. And it ain't even my podcast.
Yeah, she's closing out my podcast. Listen, you guys, thank you for checking out and tapping into the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. That's going to do it for us. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. You can find the podcast on every podcast reader out there. If you're on YouTube, you can watch on YouTube as well. Subscribe. We have both audio and video there as well. If you are on social media, you can follow me at 12 Kyle. Also, I have a new baby. Not literally, not figuratively, but I do have a new baby. It's called the Rap Soul Podcast, and it is out right now. There are new episodes. It's the intersection of what I call rap and soul music from the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. So if you're a music fan, definitely tap into that. And also, last thing, if you would like to support the podcast financially, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. And also you can look in the comment section. There's a merch link. Click merch link and you can get 12 Kyle podcast t-shirts, hoodies, mugs. We got it all at the low price. So that's going to do it for us. So for Dr. Jimmell Felder, I am your boy 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.